Defenders.
And you're listening to the Thursday night edition of Impact Showdown on July 26, 2012. Thank you all so much for checking out tonight's episode live on blogtalkradio.com and also at our sister website over at infinityoneproductions.com. Do hope everybody has had a fantastic week so far and y'all have been able to take in some of this good weather we've been getting within recent weeks. Been very nice. Hopefully y'all have made it your business to go out to the theaters and check out some of the cool movies that's playing right now. A lot of good stuff that's out there. You can almost do a double feature with your friends or family. A lot of good picks that's out there. So if you haven't gotten a chance to go to the theaters yet, hopefully you'll be able to do so this weekend. We, of course, are definitely going to be covering the latest installment of TNA Impact Wrestling as we do each and every single week, along with the very latest in TNA-related news. We definitely want to take this time out to let those of you know that the conversation is just jump-starting right now in our chat room that's up on Blog Talk Radio, so feel free to participate in that, and you can also participate by hitting us up on our Twitter page at Infinity1Prod, and you can hit us up on our Facebook page at Infinity One Productions. We do want to take this time out to thank those of you that had checked out a very special Monday night episode of the RCWR show that we did covering the 1,000th episode of WWE Raw. It was a fantastic episode as we just had tons of wrestling fans that called into the show, shared their thoughts on the historic episode, while also we offered prizes to our fans for correctly answering a few wrestling trivia questions, of which folks didn't get it right, but it's okay, no worries. We're definitely going to be doing another special where we'll have some prizes up for grabs. All you got to do is just continue to listen for your opportunity to win those cool prizes. Now, of course, this episode would have not been a great turnout if it wasn't for the lovely co-producer Tammy joining me, the co-host of the episode. Definitely had a fantastic time working with her as usually. She just works behind the scenes only, but we had a really great blast doing Monday Night Show. Brings me to a very special little announcement that I'll be making just later on in the show with regards to programming that's going to be coming up for the weekend. So you definitely want to stay tuned for that, as you won't be disappointed. Also, we have a little bit of unfortunate news that we need to report to you all. Now, for those of you that had checked out the RCWR show on Monday, you all know that we were supposed to have special guest hip-hop rapper Scooter, who's supposed to join in and help us work on the show that night. Well, it turns out he wasn't able to do it because there was a sudden death in his family, and as a result, he wasn't able to appear. Scooter will try to come onto a future episode, that I can assure you folks. But in the meantime, we definitely want to just take this time out to offer our deepest sympathies and condolences. If you wish to send Scooter your condolences, you can do so by hitting him up on Twitter at IamOfficialScooter. Again, that's on Twitter at IamOfficialScooter. Now, right before we jump into things, one last little note that we definitely want to give you all a heads up about. We got to let you know that as much as we love hearing from you all that take the time to call into our shows each week, we definitely need to let you know about some new rules that's actually been in effect now for a few weeks. And this message in particular goes out to new callers and new people that joined the chat room, as we had a little bit of a ruckus that had went down in our chat room on Monday night. Now, just got to let you guys know that with regards to our show, this is a show where we primarily try to do our best to update everybody on their favorite wrestling shows in case they didn't get a chance to catch it. Let them know what's going on with great in-depth analysis, talk about maybe what you can expect for the next week after pay-per-view, etc. Now, keeping all that in mind, as much as we love hearing fan reaction, whether it's comments, questions, good or bad, we don't open up the phone lines until the end of the show, towards the end. We like to try to dedicate the last 15 to 20 minutes of the show where we just open up the phone lines and we give you all the opportunity, we give you all the platform to be able to let your voices be heard on the air. This has nothing to do with, I just want to make sure this is straight. We aren't going to sit up and take your calls at the very beginning of the show. We aren't going to take your calls in the middle of the show. We're going to take your calls right after we get done recapping for those that may have not catch that episode of Raw or that episode of Impact Wrestling. We're going to get them caught up, and then we're going to do an overall takeaway like we always do, and then that last 15, 20 minutes, it's dedicated to you all. So if you want your voices to be heard, just remember that. The last 15, 20 minutes, we'll open it up, we'll give you all the platform. When I give out that phone number, that's definitely your chance to call on in and be heard. Now, some people, they like to get a head start. They like to call into the show immediately as we come on, so they can definitely make sure that, they're on, that they can get on as early as possible. Hey, we appreciate that because sometimes we get a lot of people that are on hold. So if you want to call a little early, that's fine. Just know we aren't going to take your calls until the last 15, 20 minutes of the show. Just thought I'd put that out there because, again, we had a little bit of a stir that was created by, unfortunately, some people that do not even listen to the show on a weekly basis, and we noticed the feedback, and a few of our loyal listeners, they had reached out to us after that Monday night show was over and said, hey, I don't know if you guys are paying attention to the chat room, but this is what had happened, so we definitely are going to make it be our business to pay more attention to what's happening in the chat room. So let's go on ahead and let's jump into tonight's show on that note, now that we have all those formalities put out there. Okay, so, of course, we had got a recap of AJ, Daniels, Kazarian, Claire Lynch, as the baby drama fiasco is definitely going to be continuing tonight. As from there, we were also recapped on the Aces and Eights attack on Sting and TNA General Manager Hulk Hogan, and we would also see what all had transpired between Austin Aries and Robert Roode as pretty much the highlights, recapping all the events that took place last week, was basically chronicling how the Aces and Eights were really making their presence felt. Now, for those of you that were not paying attention to the Twitter feeds, we would have TNA President Dixie Carter let it be known that she has asked for someone to step in for Hulk Hogan while he is out on injury. Who that individual is, well, we would find that out on tonight's episode, as it would be no other than the icon Sting. That's right, folks. Sting would reveal that Dixie Carter has asked him to step in on behalf of Hulk Hogan, and Sting lets it be known to the Aces and Eights that, hey, he might be one man, but he is willing to take them on by himself as he calls them out. Well, it would appear as though Sting would not be alone, folks, as we would be graced by an appearance from the TNA World Heavyweight Champion, Austin Aries. Now, Austin Aries, he would let Sting know, hey, as much as he admires his courage, when it's all said and done, the aces and eights, it's all about a numbers game, and that as far as he's concerned, they need to be making a statement together, and he sends a personal message to aces and eights letting them know that if anybody's going to be doing any jumping tonight, it's going to be him, as he's looking to get a jump on aces and eights. From there, we would see the Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle come out, and he, too, is chiming in his thoughts, as he, too, wants a piece of the aces and eights, as he feels that they've tried to do two things to him last week. He feels that they tried to hurt him physically and also take away his chance at winning a world title. So he wants a piece of aces and eights as well. But it's not over yet, folks, as we would be graced by the former TNA World Heavyweight Champion, Robert Roode, who points out the obvious that, hey, he's not there to cause a little bit of a stir, and that he just so happens to know who the man is behind these recent attacks, as he experienced a bit of technical difficulties with his microphone. Kurt Angle would quickly give him his microphone, and Robert Roode would continue, saying that he knew who was behind the attacks, that it was a man who's been pissed, who's been upset at him for a long time. This same man who has been jealous of Austin Aries, this same man who was also scheduled to face Kurt Angle last week on Impact. Who would that man be, folks? Well, Robert Roode would reveal that man to be none other than the Cowboy, James Storm. Now, this would shock a lot of people, as Robert Roode is trying to have everybody enlighten him for a moment here, as he feels that he knows James Storm the best, as he has known the man for 4 years. He knows how capable he is of manipulating people, and that he's nothing more than a piece of crap. This would prompt James Storm to come out, attack Roode, as Angle was about to break up this fight, but we had Sting say to Angle, no, let these two go at it. So we would see the two of these guys just rumbling in the ring, just rolling all over the place for a couple of minutes, until finally it was broken up. Now, very interesting development right here, as you can't help but say to yourself, is Robert Roode possibly on to something? Because he just brought up very valid points. Backstage segment now, we would see a series of TNA wrestlers share their thoughts on Chavo Guerrero, the third-generation wrestler who's going to be making his debut tonight, as we see the lovely Tara, Kid Cash. They all are pretty excited about Chavo Guerrero. Kurt Angle, he gives his reaction as well, as he points out how he had fantastic matches with the late Eddie Guerrero, and how he also had fantastic matches with Chavo Guerrero, and gives him his props, as he feels Chavo is a great technician and one of the best wrestlers in the world today. From there, folks, we would see another backstage segment where cameras have caught up to Robert Roode, and they want to know what exactly is going on with the allegations that he made that the Cowboy, James Storm, is the one behind the aces and eights attacking everybody. Well, Robert Roode would quickly say, hey, everybody wants to question me. They don't want to believe me. They don't feel that I know James Storm. Fine. We would see Robert Roode get in a limo and take off. He's done for tonight. As far as he was concerned, nobody wants to listen to him. Okay, well, I tried to warn you. I'm gone. So Robert Roode, he bounced. First match of the evening, we would see Madison Rayne and Gail Kim take on Tara and Mickie James. Now, this would be a tag match, but do keep in mind that these same four women that I just named are going to be facing each other in a fatal four-way match on next week's Impact Wrestling, where the stakes doesn't get any higher, as the winner of that fatal four-way will be able to take on Miss Tessmacher for her TNA Knockouts title at the TNA Hardcore Justice pay-per-view. And you know what was a little bit sad about tonight's episode of Impact Wrestling, folks? We did not get graced by an appearance from the lovely Miss Tessmacher. It's totally cool if she did not want to be in a match, but man, can't we see the lovely little thing just pop up and maybe lend a hand to Tenay and Taz on commentating? I was at least expecting that. Very shocked that the TNA Knockouts Champion's presence was not on tonight's episode, as I felt it definitely could have used that little bit of a pick-me-up. Nonetheless, we would still have great Knockouts action between these four lovely women. As critical point in this contest, folks, we would see Mickie James actually get Madison Rayne in a little bit of a roll-up pin. However, it looked as if, as referee Earl Hebner is counting, he counts three, but it was really weird. I'm going to try to break this down as best as I can, folks. It was really weird seeing this, but we basically see Madison Rayne, and she's engaging Mickie James. They're trying to get into a roll-up pin. Looks like Mickie James had it at first, then it looked as if it got reversed by Madison Rayne, and Madison Rayne, it looks as if she didn't have it because Mickie James kicked out in time. Well, Earl Hebner, he just went on ahead and did the 3 count anyway, helping Madison Rayne and Gail Kim pick up the victory. Weird shenanigans right here, as remember, folks, it was revealed not too long ago that Madison Rayne has the hots for referee Earl Hebner. And no, folks, we're not talking about the younger one. We're not talking about Brian Hebner. We're talking about senior citizen Earl Hebner. That's right. So, very interesting what's happening right here. I think I said it perfectly well a couple of weeks ago on an episode of Impact Showdown where I said, hey, mark my words, Madison Rayne, the way she's probably going to try to use Earl Hebner, she's probably going to get on his side to the point where she can start picking up wins. Maybe she's going to try to move her way to the top of becoming TNA Knockouts champion. What better way to do that than to have a referee in your back pocket making sure that you always get the victories? So we see Earl Hebner and we see Madison Rayne. They're kind of giving each other a little look right there, like they know some shady stuff just went down right there. Nice little interesting development right here. I like how the continuation of their storyline is moving along. From there, we see Sting and Austin Aries in a backstage segment as Austin is saying to Sting, look, you saw what the Aces and Eights did to me last week. I definitely want some payback on these guys. Sting, he's feeling the exact same way, as he would sit up and say, hey, look, I need you to do me a favor. I need you to be a judge tonight. I need you to make some cuts. We need to try to figure out who's going to be taking on Zema Ion tonight for his X Division title. I can't think of anyone better than you, since you were a former X Division champion, to go in there and make the necessary cuts and figure out who's going to be able to take on Zema Ion tonight. Our reluctant Austin Aries would accept the assignment. From there, folks, we see TNA gut check tryout Sam Shaw. We see a great little promo for him, as he is going to have another opportunity tonight to be able to possibly get a TNA contract. Now, remember, last week, Shaw had a tryout, but it got interrupted by those damn aces and eights. Of course, we are not done by a long shot hearing that name, aces and eights, as they definitely would make their presence felt tonight. Now, for you folks that have been listening to Impact Showdown within recent weeks, we've been telling you about this new little show that Impact Wrestling has live on their website and also on their YouTube channel, where it's a bit of a backstage pass that occurs in between commercial breaks. Now, we would see SoCal Val in the backstage segment asking TNA fans their reaction of the recent pairing of Madison Rayne and Earl Hebner. They had pretty poor audio quality early on here. It was really incoherent. You couldn't really make out what was being said, but we had got the gist of it as we had saw live footage of Sam Shaw getting in the ring with Jeremy Borash. As from there, we would continue seeing plugs for Chavo Guerrero as Hector Guerrero plugs him, says good things about him. We see Gunner, who says good things about him. We would also see Supermex Hernandez say a few things, but we would also see Bully Ray say a little something. But Bully Ray, he was more into his Twitter. As far as he was concerned, he would beat Guerrero up and push him around just like everybody else. And from there, folks, we see Jeremy Borash, who introduces officially Sam Shaw as his opponent for tonight, for his tryout match, is none other than Douglas Williams. Now, during this contest, we would see a major distraction, and that distraction would come from 87%. I believe you know where this is going. That's right. Joey Ryan, in case you all may have missed it, if y'all haven't been following Joey Ryan on Twitter, just hours before a new episode of Impact Wrestling, Joey Ryan had posted a picture of himself on Twitter, and he posted a picture of himself on his Facebook page showing him outside of the Impact Wrestling arena. As he said, he's going to definitely be in the arena tonight. Well, he was there. He was in strong force as he had about 4 or 5 fans holding up those 87% signs as Al Snow would quickly try to go over to Joey Ryan, and he's arguing with him. Joey Ryan, though, he just sucker punches the hell out of Al Snow as Al Snow just climbs over that guardrail and is just giving chase to Joey Ryan all throughout the arena. Really funny stuff right there. What's even more funny is someone took a picture of Joey Ryan sucker punching Al Snow. If y'all have not seen that yet, go check out Joey Ryan's Facebook page. The picture is just freaking hilarious. The look on Al Snow's face, the connection, is just really beautiful. It looks like something out of a Fight Night video game. It just looks really hilarious. Check it out. We would see this distraction, as I mentioned, as Sam Shaw was definitely distracted by this. He wasn't focused on everything that was happening in the ring. Douglas Williams would basically take advantage of all this as Douglas Williams was able to pick up the victory. Nonetheless, Sam Shaw, he showed a little bit of I guess you could say a good effort. I know me personally, I wanted to see a little bit more, and I just really didn't even feel like this guy should be offered a contract. But hey, what do I know? As we would hear throughout the night, all the TNA wrestling fans, they just felt that this guy definitely should have been given a TNA contract. I'm wondering if this might be a little bit biased right here, because it just seems like every single TNA wrestler that tries out for Gut Check, everybody is basically going, give them a contract. I've yet to really hear people say, this person sucks, don't give them a contract. I'm very curious to see what would happen if TNA tried to purposely put somebody in TNA gut check that sucks just to see what the fan reactions would be, if they are really judging or if they're just spamming just for the hell of it, as I think that might be the case of what's going on in some cases, but that's another topic for another time. Let's talk about what happened tonight, folks, as we go to our next moment, which is backstage, where Austin Aries is trying to decide who's going to face Zema Ion, as he's talking with Kenny King, Rashad Cameron, Sanjay Dutt, and, of course, Dakota Darso. Zema Ion, he would be shown the door because they really didn't feel as if he should have been sitting in on the discussion. So he gets sent out. Now, this would later be followed by Austin Aries' first elimination, as he would eliminate Rashad Cameron. Very messed up how they made this guy exit, as Austin Aries, he's having a field day with Cameron. He says, why do you feel that you should be involved in this? What do you have? And Rashad Cameron, his whole argument is that he's the Rashad movement. It's the Rashad movement. That's pretty much all that it's about. Austin Aries would play off of those words and say, well, you can move yourself out of here. You're definitely eliminated. While you're at it, see if you can do something about getting that hair fixed. Maybe you can talk to Zema Ion's hairstylist. Very hilarious stuff right there, as now it's down to Kenny King, Sanjay Dutt, and Dakota Darso. Coming up next, we got Chavo Guerrero, who is getting ready to make his debut. Now, you switch over to your personal laptop, you go on to TNA, and you go check out their post-commercial break show that they do. You got SoCal Val, who's interviewing Douglas Williams, who gave a little bit of praise to Sam Shaw, offering his thoughts, saying that he could see that fans were somewhat a bit behind him, and would also talk about what these TNA gut check stars need in order to be successful, as he feels they have to have the talk, they have to have the in-ring ability, they have to be able to have that connection with the fans. It was a very interesting segment right there in between the commercial breaks. And also, we would see SoCal Val plug Bellator fighter Ben Sanders. Now, later on, this would be picked up by Mike Tenay and Taz, who would reveal that actually Bellator fighter Ben Sanders is in the arena watching everything that's going on. And, of course, folks, it's time. It's Chavo Guerrero time. That's right. Chavo Guerrero Jr. finally makes his debut in TNA. And was it just me, or was I kind of picking up a vibe from the Impact fans that felt as though, oh joy, it's another WWE wrestler coming in here? It just felt so dead in that arena, as Chavo Guerrero, I mean, he was trying his damnedest too. He cut a pretty decent promo as he comes in there, as expected. He comes in there as a humbled Chavo Guerrero, thanking the fans for allowing him to be in their ring, and points out how the one thing that the Guerrero family has always done successfully is be champions, that in every single country, every continent, every company, with the exception of TNA, they've done everything successfully to be champions. And Chavo would point out how he looks into the eyes of all the wrestlers in TNA that are in the back. He sees hunger, as they want to go out there, the men and the women. They want to go out there. They want to steal the show each night, as they're striving, they're hungry to be the best. And that is why he's in TNA, as he wants to be the very best. And he would point out how they say timing is everything. Well, the Guerreros are known for their timing. look at the calendar and remember the date tonight, is what Chavo Guerrero would say, as it's time for Chavo Guerrero to become champion. That's right. It looks like Chavo Guerrero is aiming really high right here, as he is looking to become the TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Well, this would meet some very heated words by Gunner and Kid Cash, who are picking on Chavo, asking him, what's going on with you? Where's your family? Where's your familia? Where is your Hector? Where is he? What's going on with him? Hey, what's going on with the other Guerrero, the one that is basically drunk and old? Very heated words right here, as these guys, they pretty much threw it down, and it looked as if Chavo, in his first debut, was going to be getting his ass beat, as Gunner and Kid Cash continue to beat him down until Super Mex Hernandez comes out, and he comes to the aid of Chavito. As the two of them, they cleaned house, and they're standing tall in the ring. Looks like we got a tag match, possibly, for the Hardcore Justice pay-per-view. What better way to see Chavo in action for the very first time than make him make his wrestling debut match be at the Hardcore Justice pay-per-view? That would be the smart money right there. Now, from there, folks, backstage segment we go now, as Kurt Angle and James Storm are talking, and it looks as if Kurt Angle has a little bit of concern, as he doesn't like the recent allegations that Robert Roode made about James Storm possibly being the one behind the Aces and Eights. Well, we would see James Storm reassure Kurt Angle that he has nothing to do with them, and if push comes to shove, James Storm, he definitely has Kurt Angle and everybody else's back when it comes to the Aces and Eights. We would see Kurt Angle walk off, but we would see the camera shoot in up close on James Storm's face, who looks a little bit concerned and a little disgruntled. Very interesting development right there, folks. Of course, in between, we got Jeremy Borash, who is with Al Snow, and he is trying to get Al Snow's thoughts on what all had just happened with Joey Ryan. And Joey Ryan, Al Snow. Joey Ryan, don't mention that name. Al Snow was just really pissed off, and he was sitting up saying that this thing with Joey Ryan is going to come to an end once and for all. Al Snow just really livid, as Bruce Pritchard, Taz, they're trying to calm him down, as they're trying to quickly get ready to talk about Sean Ryan. And, of course, that is exactly what would happen when the action would pick up, as the three gut check judges would talk about Sam Shaw, I apologize. I don't know, I got my names mixed up tonight. As they would talk about Sam Shaw. Taz, he loved Shaw physically, despite the fact that Shaw was a little bit distracted. Taz loved him. Pritchard, he says that he has a few pros and cons about Shaw. He's a little bit conflicted, but he should have it worked out by the time they get into the ring. Al Snow, on the other hand, he says, hey, he wasn't able to check out the match because of that punk-ass Joey Ryan. Al Snow is just hell-bent on Joey Ryan tonight, so his head definitely is not in this game. From there, folks, we see AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Kazarian, Claire Lynch recap, as guess what? It's our first of two Bound for Glory series matches, as we have points that are up for grabs, as AJ Styles is going to be taking on the Cowboy, James Storm. One thing I loved the match, no doubt. It was a great match. There was one thing I didn't like, and it didn't have to do with these two men in the ring. It had to do with what was happening outside the ring, as cameras were shooting in on Claire Lynch's face. And I said it on Twitter. I was interacting with everybody tonight for once, as it's kind of where I hop up on Twitter, and I said, man, Claire Lynch, the look on her face, she just reminded me of Adam Sandler Saturday Night Live skits when he would dress up in drag and he would have a wig and all that, and he's trying to be a woman, and he just has this ugly little, squinchy little look on his face. Well, that's what I was feeling when I was looking at Claire Lynch's face tonight. I'm thinking to myself, of all the faces to make when you're upset, that's the face that you have to come up with. That face looked so freaking full of BS. It was not even funny. I was just like, don't show that face again. Just stick to what's happening in the ring, as that was really what was telling a great story. And a great story it was that was being told. But guess what, folks? Those damn smoking aces and eights, whatever the hell you want to call them, they would pop up again. They are really starting to come off like Nexus right here. Not really sure if they're going to be able to execute the same way as Nexus did, but so far they've been on a bit of a hot streak within recent weeks. They would make their presence felt again as they would proceed to beat up AJ Styles. Surprisingly, they did not attack the Cowboy James Storm. Very interesting right here, and it's starting to prove a point that Robert Roode made earlier. As from there, folks, we see SoCal Val, who is in between commercial breaks, interviewing Bellator fighter Ben Sanders. Very brilliant right here. I think somebody from Impact Wrestling must have been listening to last week's show, because remember, we had that Bellator announcer who was on Impact, and he was joining Mike Tenay and Taz commentating, and he was trying to plug some upcoming matches that were going to be taking place, but you couldn't really make out everything that he was saying because it was kind of hard to tune into what he was saying, as his voice really didn't sound that commanding, as you're really just focused on what's happening in the ring and you're focusing in on what Taz and Tenay are saying. Very smart move right here, as instead they switched it up. They had the Bellator fighters talk in between commercial breaks. Love that. Great concept. Keep that going. I think that's the smart way to go. Backstage segment we go now, as we see one of the interviewers have caught up with the Cowboy James Storm and is trying to figure out if possibly James Storm might have something to do with those damn aces and eights. James Storm, he would go livid and grab the interviewer and say, look, he doesn't need anybody's help to beat a man's ass, and tells him the next time he accuses him to come at him with proof. As from there, folks, it's decision time as Sam Shaw gets in the ring with Al Snow, Taz, Jeremy Borash, and Bruce Pritchard, as it's time to see the results from the judges. Let's cut right to the chase. We go to Al Snow. He decides, hey, Sam, didn't see your match, was distracted by Joey Ryan, gotta say no. Bruce Pritchard, he says yes. So you know what that means when it's tied 1-1. That tryout contestant has 30 seconds on the mic to try to convince that last judge. It's their last attempt to kick out. And in this case, Sam had to convince Taz, as he would pull a little bit of a, hey, Taz, I remember how back in 1999 you were trying to go for the big leagues. You were known as the Bush League shooter, and would tell Taz emphatically that he wants to work there, that he wants to work with the best talent, and for Taz to please say yes. Well, that was enough convincing, as Taz would say yes. So Sam Shaw would officially get a TNA contract. So congrats to Sam Shaw. Backstage segment we go now, where we see Dakota Darso, Kenny King, Sanjay Dutt are left as Austin Aries is trying to narrow it down as he's looking to make one more elimination. Well, he would eliminate Dakota Darso because he felt that the guy's head was a little bit too up there in the clouds right now with Zema Ion. Austin Aries was getting that impression that Darso was really feeling hot-headed, and that at that particular time, Dakota just was not right to be taking on Zema Ion tonight. So Dakota Darso would get eliminated. As Darso is eliminated, we will hear Austin Aries give a really bad plug to Darso saying, hey, tell your dad that I love his repo company, something to that effect, that he wishes his dad success with the repo company. Really funny little moment right there. As from there, folks, we would see our fourth match, which saw the X Division title on the line as Zema Ion is getting ready to defend it. The only question is against who? As we would see Austin Aries with Kenny King and Sanjay Dutt. Y'all knew this was coming, for those of you that remembered Sanjay Dutt getting injured, as Austin Aries would turn to Sanjay Dutt and say, look, you said it yourself, you messed up your shoulder a little bit when you were at the last pay-per-view and you were taking on Zema Ion. I want you to be at 100%. Right now, sorry, I can't go with you. I'm going to have to go with Kenny King. So there we have it. Fourth match. We got the X Division champion Zema Ion defending his title against Kenny King. Very smart move right here. Impressive matchup right here. But wait. For some weird reason, we would see the former TNA World Heavyweight Champion Robert Roode make an appearance in this match, as at one point we have the referee distracted as Roode attacks Kenny King, gets him in the ring as Zema Ion would pick up the scraps, get the victory, retain his X Division title. Just what in the heck is going on here between Robert Roode and Zema Ion? Maybe we'll know more about this story development next week, but in the meantime, we would see Austin Aries come out to retaliate on Roode interfering in this match, as he would proceed to attack Roode. And from there, folks, we would quickly go to a backstage segment where Bully Ray says he doesn't care about the aces and eights, and he's not concerned with them getting into his business, but if they do try to get involved in his business, he'll take them on as far as he's concerned. But he would quickly focus his attention on Kurt Angle, as he tells the Olympic gold medalist that he has a lot of respect for him, but promises that he's going to be picking up 7 points from him. And from there, folks, we see Jeremy Borash in another post-commercial break talking with Chavo Guerrero about his debut. As from there, folks, it's revealed next week, due to the events that had transpired between Zema Ion, Roode, they will be taking on Austin Aries and Kenny King next week. That's right, Zema Ion will be teaming up with Robert Roode to take on Austin Aries and Kenny King next week. As coming up next, folks, it's our fifth match of the night. That's right, it's our next Bound for Glory series, as points are on the grabs in this main event as Bully Ray takes on Kurt Angle. Great matchup right here where we would see Kurt Angle pick up 7 points, but those damn aces and eights would make their presence felt once again as they attack Kurt Angle. Well, we would just see everybody come out from here, folks, as we would see Sting come out, followed by Austin Aries, followed by AJ Styles, as they all hit the ring and they start attacking aces and eights, as we have all hell that is just breaking loose. Finally, we see James Storm come out, and surprisingly, all those men from Aces and Eights, they would quickly leave the ring and haul ass, as we find out just seconds before Impact Wrestling goes off the air that we're going to see a classic rematch between James Storm, and get this, it's going to be James Storm taking on Kurt Angle. That's going to be one fantastic match that's going to be coming up right there, folks. And that would conclude Impact Wrestling for this week. This was a pretty solid installment right here. Let's talk about what's going on with Chavo Guerrero here. Now, I definitely felt that Chavo Guerrero's debut was strong. I've seen better from Chavo, but it was still pretty solid nonetheless. I just wished it could have happened in front of a better crowd. This crowd seemed like they really weren't in front of Chavo. They didn't really come off as if they were in favor of Chavo, and it's quite sad because really it seemed to me like the crowd was more into chanting other Guerrero names other than Chavo. So Chavo, he definitely is still in the shadows of Eddie Guerrero, unfortunately. It's going to be very interesting to see what he can really do in TNA now that he's going to be given that creative platform to really be able to excel. He really has nobody to blame but himself now. So I can't wait to see how Chavo's going to do in weeks to come. Chavo Guerrero as a TNA World Heavyweight Champion, I think just for name purposes only, just the fact that his last name is Guerrero, it could very well possibly happen. We could see Chavo Guerrero become a TNA champion just so the company can play off of that last name. Will it happen anytime soon? I don't see it happening this year, folks. I definitely don't see it happening this year. Austin Aries is white freaking hot right now. There's just no way it's definitely going to be happening this year. And if Austin Aries continues to play it out the way that he's been playing it out so far, Austin Aries could be holding on to that belt for possibly the next 2 years. You never know. If Chavo Guerrero is going to be sitting up and getting that belt, it probably won't be happening until sometime in mid-2014. I think that Chavo Guerrero, I still feel he's going to be used the way I was picturing him being utilized when we had last discussed Chavo Guerrero last week on Impact Showdown. I see Chavo Guerrero more along the lines of helping out the talent that's in the back and really helping them step their game up. I still feel he's a great addition to the TNA roster. And, you know, let's just eliminate all that silly little talk about, oh, God, here comes another WWE wrestler. I'm just going to eliminate that argument right there because we've got TNA Gut Check. We got new stars that are coming in. We got former Ring of Honor talent such as Kenny King that's signing with the company. They are really making the effort to look for new stars and make new stars. I look at Chavo joining them just strictly as helping out the younger talent because they need that veteran in the backstage area. They don't really have too many of them. And with the vast knowledge that Chavo brings from his experience in the WWE, it's only going to be able to help make the TNA brand stronger and better in the long haul. Just mark my words on that. You get all those right key ingredients together, you're going to have yourself a bomb recipe. You know how it is, folks. Let's also talk about this latest development that's going on with the Aces and Eights and James Storm. Now, it's really looking as though James Storm might be affiliated with them. I don't really see that being the case. I think the storyline is just going to give us a little bit of a curveball. We're probably going to keep seeing these little bits of clues and strong suggestions, hints that James Storm has something to do with the aces and eights. When it's going to turn out, it's not going to be the case. I don't see that happening, because basically that would mean making James Storm go heel. And unfortunately, I don't see that happening right now. James Storm, he's been a fan favorite for who knows how long now. The crowds, they love him. He's not going to be losing that anytime soon. He's not going to be switching back over to a heel gimmick. I don't see him being part of this aces and eights heel stable. I think this is just going to continue to play itself out, where strong suggestions are going to be made that James Storm has some type of a connection with the aces and eights. Well, really he doesn't. But you're kind of led to believe what we had saw in that backstage segment, that possibly James Storm might know a little something about what's really going on with the aces and eights. He might know who is behind it all. Maybe it's a scenario where one possible angle we could see is the truth finally being revealed, that James Storm doesn't have anything to do with the aces and eights, but rather the leader of the aces and eights has been trying for months, weeks, to recruit James Storm, and Storm keeps denying them. And maybe we could possibly see James Storm receive an ultimatum: either join them or suffer the consequences like Sting, like Kurt Angle, like Sam Shaw, like Hulk Hogan. That is one of the things that we could possibly see, and in the face of defiance, we see James Storm say no. But just mark my words, we're going to continue to see this develop over the next couple of weeks, with those plugs being put out there, that it could be James Storm behind all this, but it's not. It's just going to be a smoke screen just to throw us off of who's really the brains behind all of this. Now, we're already continuing to hear the rumblings that, hey, this could be Jeff Jarrett behind it all, but I would also like to offer up one other name that has not been discussed within recent weeks, recent months rather, and that name would be Eric Bischoff. Now remember, when Eric Bischoff lost that match to Garrett, he could no longer use the Bischoff name. Might we possibly see the return of Eric Bischoff under a new name? And he's the one that has been leading all these men known as the aces and eights. That's another angle that you all got to possibly think about right there as well. Let's also pick up with regards to what's going on with the latest development in AJ Styles' Claire Lynch, as it looks as if this storyline just continues to unravel. Obviously, looking at Claire Lynch, this girl looks like she's at least about 3.5 months pregnant. Right now, I seriously doubt they're going to try to take this storyline going into early next year. I strongly believe that it's definitely going to be wrapping up at some point. Maybe they'll have this storyline wrap up before October. Wouldn't surprise me, because one thing I was kind of thinking about, wouldn't it be funny if they revealed that her pregnancy was fake? You never know. It could happen. So definitely going to be some interesting developments right there. I'm definitely looking forward to see what's going to happen on the next installment of Impact Wrestling. Now, just for the sake of the argument, we got all these hardcore wrestling fans that dare want to try to compare the 1000th episode of WWE Raw to tonight's episode of Impact Wrestling. I just think that's a little bit too much. I don't think everybody needs to even dare make that comparison, because first of all, Raw this past Monday was nothing more than a celebration episode. That's all we could take it as for face value. Folks, if you're going to compare Impact Wrestling to a WWE product for this week, leave Raw out of the equation. I would compare Impact Wrestling to Friday Night SmackDown this week. That's the only thing you could really compare it to. Or maybe you could try to compare it to the 1 hour of NXT from WWE and then the 1 hour installment of Superstars that both air exclusively online on WWE. I think that's probably the only route you can go, or you go with the SmackDown route, but don't try to compare it to Raw 1000 because that's just a completely different beast, okay? So let's just get that out the way. So for those true wrestling fans, you know the difference, you know you can't really compare. Next time you come across a little knucklehead that wants to sit up and try to compare Impact Wrestling this week to Raw 1000, just give them a pop upside the head and tell them that doesn't even count. All right. Oh, one other thing, for those of you that are curious with regards to the Bound for Glory leaderboard status, it's unchanged as nobody won from the two matches that we had on tonight's Impact Wrestling. But for those of you that need to keep track on what's going on, here is your update with the leaderboards. We still have Samoa Joe commanding the lead as he has 47 points. Coming in at a close second place is James Storm with 43 points. That's followed up by Mr. Anderson at 30 points, Jeff Hardy at 28 points, Kurt Angle, 27 points, Rob Van Dam, 21 points, Christopher Daniels, 19 points, Magnus, 14 points, AJ Styles, 14 points, the Pope, D'Angelo De Niro, 7 points, Bully Ray, 7 points, and Robbie E. has 5 points. Definitely going to say that tonight's episode of Impact Wrestling, they did a pretty solid show this week. I'll have to give them a 8 out of 10. Definitely a pretty strong episode. Definitely looking forward to see how they do going into the weekend of the Hardcore Justice pay-per-view. This is what we're going to do right now. We're going to go ahead. We're going to take a brief commercial break, and then when we come right back, we'll get you caught up on the latest in TNA wrestling-related news. And just a little bit after that, we'll go ahead and we'll open up the phone lines and get you all's reaction. So, sit tight. You're listening to the Thursday night edition of Impact Showdown. We'll be coming right back, folks. Hang tight.
Tired of those wrestling websites that give you redirects, spyware, weird pop-ups? How about those misleading headlines? Instead of hitting the keyboard in frustration, why not visit InfinityOneProductions.com? Infinity One is the source for wrestling-related news and so much more without all the hassle. Visit InfinityOneProductions.com. Your keyboard will thank you.
Hey guys, Lee Sanders here with the RCWR Show, and I'd like to take this time out to tell you about 1 or 2 quick apps that I think you should check out when you get a free moment. First app I'd like to recommend to you is the app from Stitcher. Now, Stitcher allows you to be able to play all our episodes of the RCWR Show and Impact Showdown on your portable devices, such as an Android phone, Kindle Fire, iPad, you name it, it'll be able to play it. So definitely highly recommend that you check that out. It's available for free in the App Store. Stitcher, new and smart way to play radio. Also, another cool app that I'd like to recommend to you all is a new app that came out not too long ago from Apple. That's right, Apple has recently come out with a free podcast app. Now, this app is really cool, folks, because after we are done doing our shows, all you have to do is just subscribe to our episodes. And you can do this by downloading this new free podcast app. All you have to do, visit the App Store on your iPhone or iPad and just search podcast. Once the app is downloaded, you can then type in the name of our shows, the RCWR Show and Impact Showdown, and you'll be able to subscribe. It's that easy. So you have 2 cool free apps that you can check out and take all our episodes with you on the go. So get to it already.
we're back. You're listening to the Thursday night edition of Impact Showdown on July 26, 2012. Got a programming note that we definitely got to let you all know about. Now, we're going to be doing a very special episode of the RCWR show that's going to be coming up this Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern. That's right. The RCWR show is going to be having a weekend report this Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific. This episode is basically to complement the 2-hour episode that we did on Monday night covering the WWE Raw 1000 show. Now, we're doing this episode to go more in depth about CM Punk's heel turn, how it could possibly help John Cena get over more on the WWE Universe, or it could possibly backfire. That's right, it could possibly backfire. It's a really great discussion. You definitely want to check that out, as I'm going to be joined once again by the lovely Tammy. And it's so funny because right after we went off the air, we had actually talked about CM Punk's heel turn. I mean, we were just talking about some really great stuff that unfortunately didn't make it to the show. And it just wouldn't have been fair for those of you that had listened to the 1000th episode of Raw, the post show. It just wouldn't have been fair to you guys to hear a 3-hour show and you just got done watching a 3-hour episode of Raw. So you're really going to like that episode that we got coming up for you guys this Saturday. So make sure you check that out. We'll also be talking about a interesting topic that was brought up on the show, but it didn't get covered, which will definitely get covered on Saturday's show, which is with WWE's use of social media that they are just really pushing forward now, at least on their episodes of Raw. Is it a bit too much? Are they possibly alienating their hardcore wrestling fans that tune in to Raw, that just want to see their wrestling? They don't really care about all that use of social media, the Facebook, the Twitter. Is it a bit overkill? We'll be definitely going more in depth about that. You're definitely going to love it. It's going to be really cool. And, of course, we'll also get you caught up on the very latest in wrestling and entertainment news. And it's another installment of my favorite segment of the show, Hidden Gems, where I pick out some underrated music, DVDs for you guys to go check out on your spare time. So do join us for that episode. It's going to be coming up this Saturday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 1 o'clock Pacific. 2 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. I'm getting my time frames down. All right, so let's talk about what has been going on with regards to TNA-related news. Well, we got this word that's going on in the wrestling beat right now, and we don't like talking about rumors. We really don't. We hate talking about rumors because when you talk about rumors and it's not even accurate, it's just something that some random person decided they wanted to spread just for the hell of it, then you end up looking like a fool. You're like, but this makes an exception because with all the recent releases that have been coming from TNA, to hear this name possibly be leaving the company, we just can't help but address it. Hopefully it's not true. We're definitely going to be paying attention to the story and get you all the most accurate information as it becomes available, as we'll post it on our Facebook page over at Infinity One Productions, and we'll post it on our website over at InfinityOneProductions.com. But rumors are suggesting that the lovely Let Those Pigeons Loose, Velvet Sky, is possibly done with TNA. That's right. Now, this may come as a shocker to a lot of wrestling fans, but if you really think about it, within recent months, it seems as if Velvet Sky really hasn't been utilized like that. It seems like nowadays she's being pushed to the side for Miss Tessmacher. So really interesting what's been going on right here with the lovely Velvet Sky. Of course, it was barely a month ago that Angelina Love had asked for her release from TNA, and you just can't help but wonder, okay, if Velvet Sky is done with TNA wrestling, what does this mean for the future of TNA, and specifically, what does it mean for their Knockouts division? As several TNA wrestling fans put it, if Velvet Sky leaves the company, rest in peace Knockouts division, because you're losing a serious piece of talent right there in Velvet Sky. And I'll go one better than that. If TNA decides that they want to let Velvet Sky go, it's probably going to be one of the third, fourth dumbest moves that TNA has made this year. Seriously. I mean, let's go with the last dumbest move. They got rid of Angelina Love. Now, all joking aside, let's get all the talk out the way about her and looking like she's starving and all that other stuff. We know that there's something not quite right, but, that's for her to let us know. If she is battling some personal demons, that's her business. Hopefully she gets the help that she needs. But we have Angelina Love, who's out the picture. That was the last boneheaded move that was made. When it's all said and done, she was a phenomenal wrestler. She definitely knew how to throw it down in there. Now we're possibly going to follow this up with Velvet Sky, who is a young woman. I mean, she's nowhere near 35, I don't believe. And you're telling me that it's very possible that she could be exiting from the company. Now, Wildfire came all across social media when quietly TNA had removed her profile on the website. And it spread it like wildfire so fast that TNA, they quickly tried to put her profile back up. But if you did a little bit more investigating on their website, you would see that she was removed in other categories. So combine that with her getting ready to make an appearance at the Pro Wrestling Syndicate event that's going to be coming up in a few weeks, you just can't help but wonder what's going on. Now, for those of you that may be a little bit curious, it's okay for TNA wrestlers that are contracted to the organization to be able to do appearances at other wrestling events, so as long as it's not broadcast. And that's where we had that problem with Kenny King from a couple of weeks ago, just to briefly get you all caught up to date on what all had went down with him. So this is why you're not really seeing too much of a back heat coming from TNA with regards to Velvet Sky, but you still can't sit up and help but wonder what exactly is going to be happening right there. And NJ Brock, you point out a very good thing right here. It says if TNA loses two of the following, the knockout division is dead. Gail Kim, Madison Rayne, Tara, and Mickie James. They just cannot be on TV or pay-per-view. Yeah, I definitely completely agree with that 100%. If they're going to get rid of Velvet Sky, then by default, they have to emphasize the hell out of the knockouts that they have left. This all just goes back to what we were talking about within recent weeks. As TNA, they have just been on this rebuilding, as they're now trying to just get certain wrestlers to just pop up specifically for pay-per-views, and they are cherry-picking who they want to appear on Impact TV each week. Now, keep in mind that all this drama that's going on with Velvet Sky is just coming fresh off of the heels of one ODB who just signed a new contract, a new long-term contract with TNA. Now, I don't know about you guys. As much as I kind of dig ODB, I would have taken that money and I would have said, you know what, We got to try to keep Velvet Sky. We got to try to keep Angelina Love. ODB has come and gone, if I'm not mistaken, at least 3 times already. There was really no need to sit up and keep ODB. Another name that jumps out at me, though she might be a cute little button, Taylor Hendrick. Why offer her a freaking contract when you could take some of that same money if you really cared about your veteran knockout and give them a little something to make them stick around if you appreciate their value and what all they've done for the company. So very interesting developments that's coming in right there. We got some TNA Impact Wrestling rating news for you guys. Last week's episode, which was the last Impact Wrestling to air during this whole Viacom DirecTV dispute, pulled in a .85 rating, not too bad from what they had did the week before, which had saw them gain a .80. So it's picking up. Very good news to hear that Viacom and DirecTV, they've settled their dispute. Mad shout out to all of you, especially you TNA Spike TV fans who let it be your business to call your DirecTV providers and say to them you want your channels back. Just goes to show you when you guys work in a big set of numbers and y'all work together, you can definitely let your voices be heard. Anything is possible as long as you follow it all the way through. So mad pat on the back to you guys. If you haven't given yourself a pat on the back yet, make sure that you do, as you were successful in getting your channels back. So really great news right there. Can only imagine how this week's episode is going to do in the ratings next week. We should see it go back up to its regular 1.0 and some change or whatever. So really cool to see what's going to happen right there. Matt Morgan is continuing to make headlines as he continues to possibly tease at a WWE return, as he continues to be asked if he is officially done with Impact Wrestling. Now, he pretty much was blunt about it this time around. He did say that he is done with TNA, but with regards to him possibly joining WWE, all he will continue to say is tick, tock, tick, tock. So can't wait to see what's going to happen right there. And, of course, we can't get done talking about TNA wrestling news without mentioning Ric Flair, even though he has been removed from TNA for almost 2 months now or a little bit more. He was expected to be used on the Raw 1000th episode, but just to show you guys how serious WWE has been taking this lawsuit that has been coming their way from TNA, they just decided, even though Ric Flair, his contract has expired with TNA, they just do not want to use Flair. There was a lot of buzz going around that WWE, they were really thinking seriously about having him pop up on the 1000th episode, but due to this TNA lawsuit, they do not want Flair, they do not want Matt Morgan to surface on WWE programming until this lawsuit has been swept under the rug. So it's a big waiting game right now. It's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out. Without any further ado, let's go on ahead and let's dedicate the last part of the show to you guys, get you all's thoughts on what all has been happening in TNA this week. Go on ahead and let's sit up here, and you can call us right now. Area code 646-478-3525. Again, that's 646-478-3525. Let's go on ahead now, and let's go out to our good pal Dave from the Michigan area. Dave, you're live on the air, my friend.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, pretty good, man.
I'm surprised you didn't cover the whole Bully Ray thing at Raw 1000. Talk something about that.
Actually, no, I didn't. I just kind of felt that since it was mainly Impact Wrestling, just wanted to talk about that. I mean, we'll definitely bring that up on Saturday's show. It's kind of cool that you brought that up because there's actually an article that we have up on our website at infinityOneProductions.com. For those of you that didn't take the chance to check it out, I highly recommend you do. It's a long list of wrestlers who were not utilized on the 1000th episode, nor were they given acknowledgments. And the list is pretty freaking long, so I highly recommend you go check that out.
Yes, I mean, yeah, I was shocked about that whole thing on Twitter over the weekend, but if I talk about Impact, I thought it was a good show tonight. And one of my questions or comments I want to take it is the whole James Storm angle they were doing. I could see him and Jarrett, both Tennessee guys, doing this whole, because Jarrett didn't get the Hall of Fame thing, use that as their kind of angle. And another thing is, like you talked about the ratings with TNA, with Viacom and DirecTV, tonight being the episode that they gave the channel back to people. So do you think we're going to get a significant change in the ratings? Or do you think, here's another one, do you think that if they would have stayed, which 8 o'clock is a good hour, but if they would have changed the time, say it stayed at 9, would their ratings stayed at where it was?
Very interesting question right there. Thank you, Dave. As always, appreciate it. I think that with regards to TNA, and that's another piece of news in case for those of you that haven't heard, Spike TV, they're thinking about extending TNA Live on a long-term basis. Nothing has been finalized yet. That's just the word that's going around the wrestling community right now. Hopefully we'll have a little bit more on that as the time draws near. But I would think that, and I'm just saying this honestly because I have been paying attention to TNA Impact's ratings within all this year, but especially since they've been going live, and I've been seeing the trend. It looks like the highest they can get up to on a really good week, especially a week after they come fresh off of a pay-per-view, it looks like they can gain 1.05. Lowest I've seen it since it's been live was what had happened last week with the Viacom DirecTV dispute, which had the show coming in at a 0.80. So to answer your question, I don't see the ratings significantly increasing. If anything, I see them getting back up to that mid-90 range, teasing at that 1 point and some change rating. They still have a ton of work to do to really get the ratings skyrocketing to where it needs to go, I feel. Now, whether or not they could have achieved this success if it was Impact Live airing at 9 o'clock p.m. instead, that's a very good question. Unfortunately, that's like looking into a crystal ball and trying to predict something. I'm not going to even jump out there like that. I just know for a fact that with them being pre-taped and people knowing the results beforehand, they decided, based off what I read, Impact Wrestling, it's weak tonight, I'm not going to check it out. So as a result of that, the ratings was always hurting. Could they have the same type of success that they have right now at their 8 o'clock time slot being live? Could they have that success going into their 9 o'clock time slot, their original time slot? The only way we would know that for certain would be if Spike TV sat up and said, okay, well, let's see how they do if we put them back at 9. I think the only way we're going to see TNA go back to the 9 o'clock slot is if they are struggling at that 8 p.m. slot. And so far, based on the numbers that they've been putting out, I'm sure that they've definitely earned their 8 p.m. slot, that they're going to be able to keep it. If you want to call into the show, feel free to do so. You can call in at 646-478-3525. Again, that's 646-478-3525. We actually had another caller, but it looks like his signal had dropped there as he got dropped off the line there. But you're more than welcome to call back in. We definitely would love to hear your question or your comment. But, yeah, that's like looking into a crystal ball right there. I'm not going to even try to predict that. If there's no more other calls for tonight's show, I guess we'll go on ahead and we'll wrap it up. I'll give the number one more time. and that number is 646-478-3525. One more time, 646-478-3525. So, of course, once again, definitely want to let you guys know that, of course, we're going to be doing a weekend wrestling report of the RCWR show. We're going to get you guys caught up on the very latest that's been happening in entertainment news, wrestling news. Also get you guys caught up on what all had transpired from that Raw 1000th episode, as we definitely want to share with you all thoughts on what had went down with CM Punk turning heel, as we'll give you guys a more in-depth look on that. And we'll also share with you WWE's use of social media. Is it a little bit overkill that they're doing it? We'll definitely go more into depth about that. We got a caller coming in from the 704 area code. For those of you that are calling in, do us a favor, let us know your first name. We don't need to know your last name. Don't put your business out there. Just let us know your first name and where you're calling from. Caller from the 704 area code. You're live on the air, my friend. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Lee. How you doing, man?
Hey, pretty good.
Yeah, I've been listening to the show. I did want to call in, especially after tonight, because TNA, as much as I like TNA, I think they got to be a little careful right now, because they just put the title, the world title, on a guy that's been in the business, well, at least been on TV, primetime, for a year. And even though Austin Aries is a really good guy, you know, that can really, you know, shake the boat a little bit. Plus, they got so many different wrestlers coming through on this gut check and on this X division that I'm starting to get a little bit confused. I mean, they got 2 hours to work with each week, and they're bringing in new people. They're giving people new contracts. Mm-hmm. They really got to stick to an angle and a couple of guys and a couple, like with Velvet Sky leaving, that leaves a big hole. A lot of people liked her and followed her, and I just think TNA, my comment is that TNA needs to not rock the boat so much, just kind of stay steady, and that rating will stay with them.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very valid point, and thank you so much for that call. We definitely appreciate that. I share your sentiments exactly. I think all TNA wrestling fans, with the news that's going on with Velvet Sky, they definitely need to take what's going on as a wake-up call and say to themselves, TNA, what exactly is going on here? Because you're making all these moves right now. You're getting rid of your veterans. You're putting yourself into some uncharted territory. And you got in all these new bloods that keep coming in. I mean, very valid point. I mean, and hey, Austin Aries, he definitely, he's got the previous experience with Ring of Honor, and he's been a wrestler now for God knows how many years. He's at the dance right now. He's the man. I definitely feel TNA. I trust their judgment when it comes to Austin Aries. Normally, I would sit up and I would say, man, what are they doing? If this was a case where it was 4 years ago and Austin Aries was champion, I'd say, what the heck are they doing? Because this makes no sense. But look at the success that Robert Roode had, and now they're going with Austin Aries. I'm trusting TNA here. I think they know what they're doing with regards to the champion. But my whole thing is just exactly what you said, with all these new people that they got coming in, and they're basically getting rid of the old talent that really isn't even that old. The people that they've been getting rid of are not even 35 years old. So it's like, what the hell are you guys doing? If you want to try to free up some money, I can think of a few people who honestly you should cut. How about Sting? As much as I love Sting, come on now. We all know the joke that's going on with Sting. Sting shows up with bat, hits a person, gets checked, leave. We don't see Sting again for almost a freaking year. So that could free up some money right there if they were to do something with Sting. Make those guys take a little bit of a pay cut. If they're really serious about getting TNA to where it needs to be, guys like Eric Bischoff, guys like Hulk Hogan, Brooke Hogan, Bruce Pritchard, Garrett Bischoff, let's see them take a price cut for the sake of the company so that that money can be used to keep those veteran TNA wrestlers that are in the organization. Let's see that happen, but hey, it is what it is, folks. All we can do is just hope for the best. They seem to have a good track record right now. The product seems to be going in the right direction. Let's just continue to see this ride, even though it might be a little bit on uncharted territory right now. They're treading into some cautious waters. Let's just see what's going to happen with them. Well, that's going to do it. I think we had a pretty good show for tonight. I want to take the time to thank those of you that have participated in our chat room. Mad shout out to NJ Brock as usual. Mad shout out to Philip Broom as usual. I love TNA Wrestling. Shout out to you as usual. Our callers, definitely appreciate you all for chiming in your thoughts on tonight's show. And remember, we're going to do this again this Saturday afternoon, 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, for a special RCWR Weekend Edition show. Get you caught up on everything that's been happening in entertainment news, wrestling news. Also some really great in-depth talk on CM Punk's heel turn, whether or not it's going to be a success. Definitely going to be a great in-depth discussion between myself and co-producer Tammy. So you guys definitely want to check that out. I promise you it's not going to disappoint. We were probably up for